So we move from one superstar to another superstar, or a star of the boy. In this case, is Marinos Ioannides, very well known in the domain of digital heritage in Europe. Marinos is from the professor in Cyprus University of Technology, and here we'll talk about the methodology for digitisation, as he's the main expert on this domain. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much. It's an honor and a great pleasure, David, to be finally here in Girona after 2 years long running the project with you together. And of course, welcome to my presentation. Our name, there is a name below. And I would like to emphasize on that because that's where everything starts. And it's important to know and really try to understand how it was, how it is, and how it has to be when we are dealing with the past. So our name is Mnemosyli. Mnemosyli is a very old name, comes from the ancient Greek mythology, and she was the mother of 9 other ladies. All the 10 ladies together had a certain specific job to do. That's how Greek mythology is. It has been invented. They had a temple. They were goddess, yeah? They had a temple. And the name of the temple still exists in most of the languages of the world. And this name has again a very key meaning for us, for the project, for the community, for everybody. The name of that temple was Museum. That was the space where the ancient Greeks went to ask the 10 ladies, please preserve for the time to come my knowledge, my thoughts, my wishes, my Buddha. So it was the temple of a space it was a space of knowledge, a space of preservation. So, and these 10 ladies were responsible, each one of them, for a certain part of the knowledge of the ancient Greeks. For example, Calliope for epic poetry. And I will come back to you. Or Urania for science, for astronomy, mathematics, physics, and all behind. Now, I was a couple of months ago in Luxembourg, in the city of the directorate responsible for the digital agenda of the digital cultural heritage. And there they found the mosaic, which is in the museum in Luxembourg. And you see the 9 ladies, the 9 muses. One of them is sitting in the middle, in the center, with Homer together. Homer, you may remember the ancient, Greek, yes, who wrote Odyssey and Iliad. And here is where we are. This is a gentleman. And this is what he wrote, the first words of his first very famous book, asking the muses to do what? To keep alive his memory until he will manage to write everything down. Yeah? The entire story, the entire book. So this is Homer in his book, The Odyssey. Now, what we are doing exactly this, and here photos for the consortium, related also to the job that you are doing. Behind us is the memory of our parents. In front of us are the eyes of our children. Yeah? This is our job. So, and Now, why to digitize? Yeah, it has a lot of benefits. Let's start from the easiest one way. Accessibility. We are in the digital century, digital transition. It has to do with the research. It has to do also with the protection of values and identities. You may know that the Carta for the creation of the functioning of the European Union, Article 3, it states clearly, we are united because we have something common, and that's the culture. Yeah? Article 165, it says the Rome Carta, the first one, the original, it says, because it's so unique, we need to undertake all the measures to preserve it for the generations to come. And that's what EUreka3D is doing. So, preservation and, of course, supporting culture, creative innovation, tourism, in education, etc. Digitized cultural heritage can be an enormous asset. Depends, of course, and it is the case today, so far as European Union concerned with Europeana. Now, we have, of course, some distractions. The natural-made distractions, climate change, we have earthquake, we have landslides, we have floods. Spain has a lot to say. A few months ago, roads, air pollution, heat waves. We have high temperatures and something where nobody talks about, infrared and ultraviolet waves, fires, which they can seriously damage or even completely destroy monuments, historical and archaeological sites, or cultural landscapes. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recall again one very old ancient Greek philosopher, Plato, who wrote 13 books. In his last book, he is explaining a story of an ancient Egyptian priest visiting Athens, explaining to the priest, explain in a dialogue to the Greeks, pay attention, you are stupid. And the Greek guy said to the priest, why we are stupid? How it comes that we are stupid? Because you don't take care about your knowledge, about your story, about your civilization, which is so unique. And the Greek guy asked the priest, yeah, okay, can you please tell us how do you do that in Egypt? Said, yes, of course, it's very easy. If you come to Egypt and if you visit our temple, then you will see our stories are there written. And that's what exists still today. Yeah? And that's how we know about the life of and the stories of the Egyptians. Now, natural disasters. My country from where I'm coming from, this is an official map coming from the department responsible for the seismic activities in Cyprus, and you see the red area. That's the most dangerous. And Cyprus is moving every year a couple of millimeters, unfortunately, direction Turkey. We cannot help it. So now, and you see where we are focusing and we are digitizing our monuments. Now, human-made distraction, war, political, religious reasons, poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, since the ancient time period, there is no war without the destruction of cultural heritage. And you know why? Demolishing of the identity. So, by digitizing cultural heritage property, we digitize a part of our memory, of our identity. And that's the digitization of cultural heritage, identity. So, poverty, development initiatives, the looting and trafficking of objects that frequently arises out of those contexts is the third biggest black market in the world, if you don't know that. And all this can seriously damage or even completely destroy, modify monuments, historical and archaeological sites, again, as previously. Now, if we want to digitize, Protect our identity, our memory, our knowledge of the past. How then are we going to start to do that? Which objects, materials, how, when, who, under which conditions, which requirements, and where to digitize them? Is it a terrestrial? Is it in a cave? Underwater? How deep in the underwater? At the ground of the sea, yeah? So now, a very general one here, overview. Whatever we digitize, there are always the requirements of the stakeholder. And there are two different types, the movable or the immovable. And an object can consist of several other objects. Now the battery is out, and then we go for a coffee. No? Fake news? So, okay. So one object can consist of several other objects, and of course an object has a location, is in certain environmental conditions, is in a lab, is on the site, is in a museum, and at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the stakeholder, the owner, wants only a list of documents, the geometry, the texture, the material, the structural health of the object. Nothing else. That's exactly that. But what is the relation of this with that what Antonella mentioned at the beginning, with this what you see on this roll-up, with this what I underlined earlier in my presentation about the knowledge, about the memory, about the story of the past. There is not so much about that here, yeah? And of course, all this you can have access if you have your mobile ready. You can scan the QR codes, and you can have direct access to the knowledge behind that drawing. Now, I would like to explain to you and demonstrate, illustrate this what I want in my presentation to present by showing to you the digitization of a unique object. This object is coming from the Hellenistic period. It belongs to the Bank of Cyprus Cultural Foundation Museum, and it's a very important object. If you find out, or if you later in a couple of minutes know what is the knowledge hidden in this object, probably you would say, wow, they had that too on that time period, Hellenistic time period, yeah, 2,000 plus years. So we had to take the object from the museum, from the display of the museum in Nicosia, bring it to Limassol. Number one, complexity. It's not easy, yeah? Turn off the alarm, take the object with you, bring it to where? Radiology department of a private hospital. Of course, there, shut down the business here with the patients and take action. And it was not just an X-ray investigation. It was even an investigation or a digitization beyond that. And let's see. Here is the result of the X-ray. And it looks that this object in the interior is empty. Yeah? And that there are several holes. And the question here is, okay, we have the geometry, we scan it, voila, we finished. No. What was the function of this object? For what reason they produced that, and what it has been, let's say, used. And if you see here now the slides, yeah, the X-ray, documentation, each slide is sending out a message. I'm not going to analyze slide by slide. We don't have the time, but I want to accelerate and give you to distinguish between two very important issues. Here you see the slides coming from the computer tomographer directly to be processed to create or to recreate the 3D structure and send the object directly to the 3D printer. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you see here in the very simple one way. That's the digital twin. The so-called digital twin as we know it from the engineering. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any idea what is hidden in this object, yes or no? We digitize it, yes or no? And what was the meaning of this, what we said that the project EUreka3D is sending out is not only the geometry, it's also paradata, it's also the memory, the values, the identity, and so on. So let's move forward and let's see what it is here. And we found in the museum 3 different objects, 3 different, not the same, similar, yeah, of these objects. We compared them, we did all the analysis inside, outside, and we tried to find out the production technology, how the ancient Greeks managed to produce these very small but tricky objects. We found several holes for what, and let's see. And we found also in the interior all these splines here, all these curves. Do you know what it is? At the end of the day, these are the fingers of the producer, okay, to form the interior of the object. So, and we use XRF techniques. We went even a step beyond the 3D, and of course, spectroscopy to know exactly the chemical analysis, the materials, the conditions, but also to investigate. You saw earlier in one of my first images, endoscope. The radiologist went with endoscope inside of the object. We took some samples from the interior and we sent to America. We did even a chemical analysis of the interior of the object. Even if the object has been washed several times and cleaned after the excavation, yeah, we found some very important information. And all this has been documented. Now we are extending the protocols for the documentations, ladies and gentlemen. And here the materials are coming out, materials, even the colors, even if we don't see with our eyes the colors on the exterior surface of the object, colors with several very important substances and materials on that time in Cyprus. So the object has been produced in Cyprus. So do you have an idea what this object is? Before I will mention that to you, no, those who know, they don't need to say anything. Those who have, no? So, ladies and gentlemen, this object was a baby bottle. So, for the milk, it has been used as a game, but at the same time as a baby bottle. Yeah? So the baby had 2, to drink and play with the animal. Yeah? So, but here is where we say the science is a science behind the digital documentation of the past. And here is what we are doing. We are starting with the stakeholder requirements. The Museum of the Bank of Cyprus came and said, I want finally to know what the hell is with this object. We don't have any idea. Can you help us with your digital technologies? And that's what the holistic documentation of an object. Holistic, it means not only the 3D, the 2D, 3D, but also whatever knowledge is beyond that. We did it, and we came out with the very, very good results of the model. Now, the project was a very complex one. It was not very easy. Why? First of all, get the permission to get out of the museum this unique object. 3 objects, not 1, similar, yeah? Find the time to get the permission and take it with you with the police to accompany you, yeah? There were unique objects. You will not find them in any other area in Cyprus except on that museum. So they came, we digitized, we did the job, but it was a lot of stress. It was a lot of things to pay attention. And of course, then the accuracy that we had to take into account, the formats, the standards, the transfer, the safety, the security, but then at the end also the long-term preservation of the data and the time availability, yeah? The computer tomographer is not there available for hours, yeah? You have patients, it's a private hospital, and it costs also a lot of money, yeah? So the team, you need to have the specialists in place, not only the archaeologists, the chemical engineers, you need to have the radiologists, you have to have everything in place and not amateurs, yeah? So, and the environmental conditions is here for a terrestrial, let's say, mission, or for underwater or for a cave mission. Here was an in-house mission. And then, of course, the software, the hardware, which has been used to produce, to pre-process, and to digitize and pre-process the data. And this is what we are going later to hear, the hardware and the software used for the pre-processing of the data, cloud computing, and so on and so on. So now, by saying all this is a protocol which we put in place. And this protocol is doing what? It's a certificate. It's a certificate to prove that we did a job in an appropriate way, in a systematic way, so that we can guarantee at least that the findings or the results have of a level of quality. And this quality, so far as the 3D concern, has to do with the point density, with the completeness, with the resolution, with the geometrical accuracy, with the geometrical precision. Have you ever heard about the difference between these two, yeah? Precision and resolution. The texture, the scale, yeah, of the images, the spectral. Here in this case, we didn't need that. But then the materials, which were extremely important for our case, and of course the structural health monitoring, how easy this object can break, yeah? And of course, if you compare now the two radars here together, you get the complexity in relation to the quality, you know where you are, yeah? And as Antonella mentioned earlier, you have the users. These are the user needs. We are digitizing the objects because the users would like to have some data to use and reuse. The chemical engineer, the archaeologist, the historian, the material engineer, of course, the educator, the students, the researchers, and so on and so on. And ladies and gentlemen, there is one standard in cultural heritage. In cultural heritage documentation, we have two standards. The one is the CITOC CRM, is an ontology developed at Forth on Crete, in Greece. It's an ISO standard. And the second one is the object ID, which is used by Interpol, Europol, customs unions, and so on. So all these are very good standards, but very complex and not easy to understand. We developed, for our knowledge, for this what we wanted to present here with our foundings, a new one, very easy model which everybody can use, everybody. So by saying this, we start. This is a zoomorphic reader. It's a tangible object, it's a movable object, has a function, furnishing an equipment container, is a culinary container, a drinking vessel, it's a reader, and so on and so on. And then if we analyze it, go to the form, of course, morphological typology, It has a size, geometrical sizes, and here we are with the length, with the dimensions and everything, and of course the next one option, and so on and so on. So this hierarchical structure of a tree is giving to you what? The knowledge. It's our knowledge graph. It's here where we store the entire knowledge that we discovered, or the know-how discovered in this investigation, in this digitization. By saying all this, ladies and gentlemen, this what we did here is exactly this what it states on the roll-up. It is not only the 3D, it is the memory twin. And that's all about. It's not the digital twin, it's the memory twin if we are talking about humanities. Ladies and gentlemen, very soon, the day will come when we are passed by monuments or sites, and those sites and those monuments, or the objects even in the museum, are going to talk. Artificial intelligence is coming and is going to take care of a lot of things. One of that is exactly this. So our monuments, museums, and sites are talking. So the problem is with us. Do we understand them? When do they talk? Even now they talk. If we pass by, they have a story, they have a memory, they have a lot to say. We cannot hear them. We don't get the message. It's as if a Chinese is talking to us. Yeah, what we can hear? Exactly, just only the noises, the audio. How the digital era can contribute to a better understanding, access, preservation, and protection of the history of mankind. That's exactly the greatest challenge that we are facing at the moment on digital cultural heritage, of the documentation of the past. So information, paradata, metadata, together with the data, with the geometry and all this, materials and so on, is giving us the knowledge. So the intangible and the tangible together, ladies and gentlemen. And why we do it at the end of the day is not only because of the protection, it's not because of the preservation, it's because of this what the United Nations say, the Sustainable Development Goals. It's starting from up, going down, for the economy, for the society, for the biosphere. And having in mind this baby bottle, the baby bottle is contribute to all of this, believe it or not. But that's another one presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, David. And that was the best presentation, because directly after my presentation, the coffee break.
Thank you, Marinos. It was so inspiring and clear for this project, for understanding this project. Now it's time for a coffee break, and but at the same time, you have the opportunity to have a look at the virtual glasses that Girabol took with them. So if you want to have an immersive experience, you go on the left, and you will find them. And we start again, and for people online, at 20 to 11 sharp. Okay, so enjoy the breakfast.